Jai Hind, I am Vedanand Singh. You are most welcome on my YouTube channel. Today I am going to discuss you the next chapter. The name of the chapter is Security in the Contemporary World. This is a chapter of class 12 political science. In this chapter we will go through the NCERT book, and this will be the beneficial for you all, because all the terms and definitions are taken from the NCERT course book, that is the latest syllabus, as per the latest syllabus. So first of all, I would suggest you that if you are new to this unit, first of all you should take your NCERT book, open in front of you, and note down in your copy, because I have taken a complete note in short, in one single video I have taken complete notes. So first of all, what I have done, I have taken the basic the terms that has been used in the book. Now first is security. This is the first word. It is an essence for existence of human life to protect from threats, either external or internal. It directly it means that this is a protection from the threats. Threats means that in means you can say in Hindi dhamki you may say, but there is another word for it. But let me simply, security means that is the protection from threat. Threats may be internal and external. We will discuss in the topic in the syllabus. Now next is arm control. Arm control, what it generally regulates the acquisition of weapon. Weapon means arms or anything. That is the arm control. And the third is disarmament. Disarmament means this is it is a bond state to give up the certain kind of weapons to avoid the mass destruction. Simply it bounds the some rules and some bounds the country or state to collect or kind of weapon that avoid the mass destruction. Means simply it creates a foundation on the weapon that is very dangerous to mass destruction. Next, it is the confidence building. Confidence building, it is a process in which countries share ideas and information with rival countries by intimating each other about their military plans. Simply they share the military plan to the other countries, means neighbor country, or to whom they want to share the idea, and that is the confidence building. And next is global poverty. Global poverty means it refers to a country to be suffered with low incomes and less economic growth, to be categorized at least developed or developing country. Means global poverty, in simple word we can say that those countries who have the low income as well as less economic growth, that is the global poverty. And the next term is migration. Migration means that simply the movement of people from one place to another place, whether it is in the search of job or anything else and for the better life condition, that is the migration. In the chapter it is a movement of human resource from one state to another due to some particular reason. Simply when the people go from one country to another country, there is certain reasons are there why they are going. Either they may go for the better life condition, for the salary purpose, and there are the different purposes are there. So this is called as migration. Now next topic of the chapter NCERT chapter is traditional notion of external security. Okay, now we come to the external security, and the first is traditional notions. Notions means simply you can say that is a if you say a notion means simply it is a in Hindi if you talk it is a dharana, means simply the ideas, means what are the traditional notion of external security. In this topic, this is an important topic, so it is possible you write down in the copy. Traditional notation, what it is? Notion: the greatest danger to country is from the military threats. Means any country have the greatest threats regarding that any country to danger the greatest thing from the country, that is the military threats. The root of this danger is other country by treating the military action in danger to the core value of the sovereignty and independence. Generally it means in one line, if I say, it is simply means that the country have the danger threats from the military threats if it is the root causes. And what we say, military generally take the action when it is get the threats from the other countries by neighborhood countries or the other countries of the world. Now next is there are three choices. This is very important. There are three choices with the government in response to the threat of war. These choices are either to surrender, to prevent and the other side from the attack during the war itself, and the fourth component it is traditional security. In traditional security, generally deterrence, defense, balance of power, and alliance building. These are the terms we will discuss in the chapter. So generally look to the next point. It is deterrence means prevention of war. Generally, if you talk about the deterrence, what is deterrence? If it is asked in the question, you can add it is a prevention of war. Deterrence means simply prevention of war. Defense means the limiting the end of the war. Means defense means simply if there is a war, it means that there is a limit or there would be the end of the war. And balance power means there should be balance between the bigger and smaller country. And the alliance means building. Alliance building means coalition of states. Simply the states or countries are collide to each other, that is called the alliance of building. And again I am repeating it. Deterrence means prevention of war. Defense means limiting or ending war. And the balance of power means there should be the balance between the bigger and smaller country. And the last one, that is a fourth component, it may say that the alliance building means coalition of state. I hope you have got this point. Now the next, it is a good part of maintaining a balance of the power is to build a one military power, that is coordinate their action to deter or defend against military attacks. See, this is an important point if you go through this. Any country or that if maintaining the balance of power, it must have built up their own security military power that coordinates their action to deter and defend against military attack. This is a means if any country want to maintain the balance of power, they have to improve their military power. Now according to the traditional view of security, the most threats country come from it outside its border. See, remember it is this is mainly most of the threats come from the outside of the border. Okay, simply if you ask a simple line, the external security threat generally it comes from the outside of the border, and in the internal it comes with the inside the country. We'll discuss it. Let's see what it is. Now the next, within a country, threats violated by regulated by an acknowledged and central authority. Central authority means by the government. When there is a threat within the country, it has been regulated by the government. And if it is outside from the country, generally there are some agencies are there, they work on their own basis. Now next it is, but in the world politics, each country has responsible for its own security. Generally, if we talk about on the world purpose in the different country, means all the country have to take responsibility of their own security by either increasing the military power, either air defense system, or sea route naval system. They have to improve all these things for their own security. Okay. Now the next point of the NCERT book, it is traditional notions of internal security. Okay, we have already read this about the internal and external security. Now we will go through the what are the internal traditional notions of internal security. We will go through it. First, it is traditional security must concern itself with the internal security, which are not given have not been given so much importance due to various reasons. See what generally it happens in the internal security, it is not given too much importance because it has been created due to the various reasons. Means it may have the various reasons because it is created within the country, it is given by the people of the country, but the government does not take it's a various serious issues. Okay, but after the Second World War, the Second World War taken from 1939 to 1945. This was the period of Second World War, and the First World War was 1914 to 1918. 18. So, in internal security after the Second World War, have more and less assumed to the powerful countries on the earth. After the Second World War, the internal security was more or either more or less assured to powerful country in the earth. Now, the next it is most of the European countries, means the coast country who is in Europe, most of the European countries face no serious threat from its group or communities living within those borders. Hence, these countries has given importance to external security. Keep it in mind. After the Second World War, what happened? Mainly in European country, what happened? They did not given too much serious about. They were not serious about the internal group or communities. Communities means group of people inside the country, because they were giving the importance to only and only external security. Means they were giving the importance to external security, and they were taking action, and they were very active on the basis of external security, not internal security. I have already told you that internal security is those type of threats which are created by their own people or community within the country, and the external threats are those threats which has come from outside of the border. Okay. Now, the next it is main concern. Next point, it is main concern for the external security was the era of Cold War. See, generally Cold War means it is not a kind of war. Generally, what happens in the Cold War? Wait for a minute. In the Cold War, generally people give the challenges to one country to other country in the world of talking. That is, if you in Hindi, if it is called as a Sikh youth. Okay, and this is not a kind of war. Always remember, it is written as a war, but you would not think that this is a war. Generally, we give the threat to other country. We give the that if you come, I would do like that. As the North Korea were saying to America in the recent past that if you have the Parmanu bomb, I have also, I would use it. There are so many. That is only the example of the Cold War I am giving you. And the next is both the superpower were afraid of attacking each other. Means after the Second World War, there were two superpower, and both the superpower countries were afraid of attacking each other. Means that means they were taking it serious to only and only external threats. Now, next it is the colonies which become independent were under the fear of conversion of Cold War into the Hot War. See what happens after the Cold War. There are some countries which become independent, because if you talk about the Japan, all these things, they were involved in the war, but it was the conversion of Cold War into the Hot War. Now, the next it is the newly independent African and Asian country were more worried about the prospect of military conflict with the neighboring countries. Means the country who is in Africa and Asian continent, they were have the prospect military conflict. There were the military conflict with its neighbor countries. Means most of the country were the military conflict with the neighboring countries. Now you can go to the next. It is they were worried about the internal threat. Means they were have the fear of internal threats only, because it was from the separatist movement and wanted to form a independent country. Means why they were worried about the internal threats, because there were some separatist movement were there inside the country. They wanted to make their own country within the country. Simple, they wanted to divide the country into the other countries. That's why the people countries of Asian and African country were the fear of internal security, internal threats. That's why taking the action on internal security. Now, the next it is the point of the NCERT book is traditional security and cooperation. Means we'll go through this topic. Traditional security. What are the traditional security? First of all, what is traditional security? What are the traditional security, and what are the cooperation among this. First of what it is universally accepted that the war can take place for right reason, primarily self-defense or to protect their other people from the genocide. See what it is happens in this traditional, it accepted universally, it is accepted that the whenever war happens, it should be the right reason, either it would be that for their own defense from or for the on genocides, from the genocides for the on security. You can say that generally internal security, for the internal government take internal security on the internal threats because of these 2-3 reasons. Now the next it is traditional view of the security also gives, this is the traditional views of the security also gives importance to other form of cooperation like disarmament, as you saw you cannot hold the weapon, keep the armament, disarmament and arm control and confidence building. So we will go through this. What are these? Disarmament means require all the state to give up certain kind of weapons, means all the states or countries they have to submit their own weapons, means the things which is used in the war to the government or anywhere, that is the disarmament. And arm control, it regulates the acquisition or development of weapon, means simply it was the acquisition of weapon, means regulates, there were some regulations were here to for weapon related. If you take the example United States and Soviet Union and sign under the war of the arm control treaties, means there were two treaties in the there were treaties among the United States and the Soviet Union. At present time Soviet Union has been divided, they were the sign on a treaty. Treaty means simply treaty means you may say agreement, they have signed on the agreement regarding the acquisition of weapon, that is that generally it was regulate the arm controls, simply control on the arms. Now next is confidence building. Confidence building means the process in which the countries share ideas and information with their rivals. Generally what happens in the confidence building, the country says about their ideas and information to other country in term of weapon and all this power. So they do the different type of exercise, either you have seen the military exercise on the different level or the air exercise, they do with the all the country do their own exercise with the other country, mainly with the and share with the new technologies and arms and all the latest modern technology too. Generally this is called as a confidence building. Now both force is both the principal threat to security and the principal means achieving the security in the traditional security. Okay, that is the points of this traditional security. Now the next is non-traditional security. This is the important also. You may get the question answer of these topics in the NCERT book, and whenever you would solve the any book or exercise for the practice purpose, this point would help you. So I would ask you to write down in your copy. The non-traditional notions of security go beyond military threats to include either wide range of threats and danger affecting the condition of humankind's existence. Generally what happened in the non-traditional notion, generally the military threats was included in the wide range and the danger affect the condition of the human existence. Simply there were the existence of human and it was comes under the non-traditional notions. Now the next is non-traditional views of security has been called human security or global security. Generally non-traditional means generally it was related to the person, particular person or group of person, so that is also known as the global security or the human security. Generally we secure here particular on human beings, mean in traditional notion generally we were security of the nation or the state, but in the non-traditional generally we go for the security of the particular group of people or the people. Just suppose we can say that the recently it was a corona period was there. In the corona period what happened, the different governments were supporting their own community, own people, so it was comes under the non-traditional notion and non-traditional views of security. Generally we were working on the different group of peoples or the country's people or citizen, you may say in the one line. By the human security, we means the protection. Okay, already it is written, protection of people more than that the protection of states. See, generally what happened by human, it gives the importance to the security of the people. Okay, now the proponents means simple supporter, you may say, of the narrow concept of the human security focus on the violent security to individual. Generally what happens whenever we get the violent security, violent threat to the individual, generally the supporter have the concept on the this all this concept come under the notion tradition, non-traditional notion. Now on other hand, the proponents of the broad concept of human security argued that the threat agenda should include hunger, disease and natural disaster. What happens whenever hunger is there, means poverty level is there, where there is low incomes are there, so it what generally it brings hunger. If suppose there are natural calamities comes, generally it destroys the crops, all these things. So there generally there is a losses of eating goods and all these things. So this all comes under the non-traditional notion. And the diseases, if particular disease comes, and the next it is the ideas of global security emerged in 1990 in response to the global nature of threats such as global warming, AIDS and so on. Means simple, these are the diseases, and the AIDS is a disease, and the global warming, this is a current, and this is a very last broad concept regarding this. We have discussed in any special video will bring. In that video I will bring the what is global warming and what are the positive and negative. I will do all these things in the detail, but you should, in the NCERT book it is only written that after the 1990 the global nature threats such as global warming and AIDS and so on, there are so many diseases are there. So it was working on the some principle which were either where the some international agencies were there like WHO, all these things, they were international agency of UN. So we'll discuss now. Now the next it is the new source of threats. Now there is a great to discuss, it is this is a new threats of sources of threats. What are the new threats? Okay, now the first point it is here that some new sources of threats has been emerged about which they should have concern to an large extent. This includes the terrorism, human rights, global poverty and migration, health and epidemics. Epidemics means that those diseases which destroy the large number of the people, that is called the epidemics. And in this generally what happens in the new sources of threats, it comes terrorism and human rights, global poverty, migration. These are the new source of threats. Means migration is also type of threats, because some person comes through the illegally, they come to the country and harms the people of that country. So these come in the traditional new threat sources of threats. And the next it is the next point, it is that terrorism refers to the political, we will discuss it one by one. Terrorism refers to the political violence that target civilians deliberately and indiscriminately. What generally happens, terrorism, they violate political violation, they refer to political violence, and they target to the civilians of the country without any they did not talk any the caste or anything else. They harm the complete civilians. Okay, a group of civilians, they harm the terrorism. So now next point it is there are three types of human rights. There are three types of human rights. What are these? First is political rights, and second is economic rights and social right, and third type is the right of colonized people. These are the three types of the rights of human. There are the human rights, there are these three types, we will discuss it. Now the another type of insecurity is global poverty. Global poverty also it is a insecurity. Rich states are becoming richer, whereas generally what happens in the rich countries or state is becoming the richer, and the whereas poor country states are getting poorer. Generally it comes under the insecurity of global poverty. These are the topics. Now next is poverty in South has also led to the large scale migration to seek a better life, especially better economic opportunity in the north. Generally what it happens, poverty in south led to the large scale migration to the south, seek the better life, especially better economic opportunity in the north. Means the south people, they were the better economic opportunity at the time, and the then north. Now the next is health epidemics such as HIV, AIDS and bird flu, and these are the name of the diseases: severe acute respiratory syndrome SARS, and has been increased across the country through the migration. Means due to this type of disease comes by migrating people from one country to another country. Okay, as you can see, the corona was also came from the migration. These are the diseases, these are the causes of migration, and this is the new threats of security. Now next it is to qualify as a security problem. So the next point, it is important to understand expansion of concept of security does not means to include everything. Means whenever we do the security, it does not mean that there will be the inclusion of everything. There would be some, if suppose there are military, they do their own job on their own basis. There are some local, they do their own job on their own area. So that is the, it does not in single, we can say in single line, security does not mean that they would secure all the internal and external. If there is a external threats, there are external agencies are there, they would work on that basis. If there is internal, there internally the government would take action on that. Now the next is to qualify the security problem, an issue must share a minimum common criteria. Means to qualify security problem, if there is security problem, a issue must be share a common criterions. Okay, now next it is, next point it is cooperative society. What security, sorry, what is cooperative society? It is here. Dealing with the certain issues of security require cooperation rather than military confrontation. Military help can be taken to deals with the terrorism, but it will be no use in the dealing with the issues like poverty and migration and so on. Generally what happens, if there is a issues related to security on the cooperation, which is military does not can take action on that, because military take action on the terrorism because they have made for their own purpose. And but if there is a migration, poverty, migrations are there, so what will do, the military can take help, military cannot help in this matter. So we can say that the simple in one line we can say that the one single body cannot control all these things. Suppose if take the military, they would take action only on terrorism, and if these are the issues that the military would not take any action. Now it becomes important to advise strategy that involve international cooperation, which can be bilateral, regional, continental and global. Generally what happen, it should be the device that strategy that involve the international cooperation, which can be bilateral. Bilateral means that the two country, two states, and then regional means there would be some particular region. Continental means entire continent, and the global is means entire the world. Okay, now next it is cooperative security may also involve a variety of other players, both international and national security. Means cooperative security is both of the plays a both role in the international and national security. But cooperative security may also involve the use of force as last resort. Means what happens, if there is a cooperative security, at the last they use the forces also to reduce their any chances of threats. The international community may have to sanction the use of force and deals with the dictatorship. Generally they deals with the sanction on forces, and if there is a dictatorship, means the power of the people in a power of the people in a country with a single person, have a single person, that is dictatorship. Now the next it is India's security strategy. What are the, now it is an important topic, so you go through the India's, what are the India's strategy, means what are the India's plan on the security. Indian security strategy depend upon the four broad components, means India's security strategy depends upon the four broad components. What are the components? Strengthening the military capability. First, that is the strengthening, simply improve the military capacity is the first component and of the strategy. And because India has been involved in conflict with its neighbor, why it is? Because India is involved, means India is facing the problem with the neighbor country. That's why they build their own military, they improve their own military. That is the first component. Second component, India's security strategy has been stated national norms, because national norms and international institutions to protect the security interest. Generally what happened, this is the second component, means is stated the national and international norms they have to follow, and some international institutions are also there, they protect the security interest. Now the third important component of India's security is geared towards meeting South challenges within the country, security challenge within the country. This is the third one, means if there is a security challenges from the inside the country, they deals with it then. And the fourth component, to develop the economy in such a way, vast way, that the citizens are lifted out of poverty and misery. Means simply this is the fourth component, that the Indians should develop the economy so that there is lift of the citizen and pull out or the lift out the poverty and misery condition of the people. Now this is the last one. I have taken the complete chapters notes in 2 or 3 pages it would be. So let's what it is, and whatever we have read till now we have written here. So in the single pages you can get the entire chapters notes. First it is security is a freedom from the threats. What it is, I have already discussed that it is a protection from the threat, so we can say that it is a freedom from the threat. Security protects core value from the threatened by preventing and limiting the ending the war. Generally what happens, security what does do, they generally protect the threat by limiting or ending the war. And the notion of security can be divided into the two. Generally what happened, we have read already the notion of security divided into two. One is a traditional concept and one is a non-traditional concept. Traditional notion includes both external and internal threats, and the external threats experience military, war, peace, balance, power, alliance building threat. Well, your internal security internal includes the internal peace and order. So only internal, it generally deals with the internal peace or order inside the country, where external threats means it is the experiences of the war and balance of power and alliance building. Now next it is the means of traditional security limits the violation up to the maximum extent through the disarmament, arm control, confidence building. Disarmament bound the state to give up the certain kind of weapons. So only what happened, I have already discussed the disarmament, they bound or restrict the give up to the weapon, use of weapon, and the arm control regulates the acquisition of weapon, and confidence building is the share of idea with the rival countries. Okay, simply we share the ideas and all these things. Now the next it is non-traditional security. It focuses on the human and global security by covering all the kinds, and human security is a narrow sense, protects individual from the internal violence only, whereas broadly it protects from the hunger, diseases and natural disaster. Global security responds to the threat like global warming, international terrorism, health epidemics like some AIDS, blood flu and some other diseases. Generally what happens in traditional security, it focuses on the global and human security by what does they do? To cover the human being. In the human security, they narrow sense protect individual from the international violence only and broadly, and from the international violence as well as human hunger, diseases, and the area affected by the natural disaster, means disaster which are occurred due to the nature, like earthquake, tsunami. These are the natural disaster. So the global security response threat like the global one, and the global security generally it deals with the global warming and international terrorism, health epidemics, and like the diseases, AIDS, and bird flu, so on. And the new sources of threat includes what happens. New sources of threats we have read the last, that is terrorism, human rights, and global poverty, migration, and health epidemics. Means new threats, source of threats, it includes these all things. And the terrorism refers to the political violence. See what happened, the new violence targeting the civilians deliberately and discriminatory. Means generally if you get that what is the terrorism, it generally violence with the targeting the civilians, generally target the civilians of a particular region or particular states. Okay, and the human rights involve the political. These are the important, you may get the question in the NCERT book. The political rights, economic and social right, as well as the right of colonized people and indigenous minorities. Generally what happens, the human right threats involve all these things, political rights, and these are things. And now the next, it is 6 number point is global poverty suffers from the low per capita income, and economic growth and high population migration create international political frictions as states pursue different rules for the migration and refugees. Health epidemics covers HIV/AIDS, bird flu, and severe acute respiratory syndrome (SARS) through migration, business, tourism, and military operations. Generally, what happens? Global poverty. What it generally comes upon low per capita income of that person in the country, and the economic growth and the high population migration. When the people migrate from one country to another country, it creates the global poverty, because generally what happens, the people who leave the country or state, they go for their own upliftment, not for the country's implements. Generally what happens in this sense? In this sense, the income of the government becomes less, and because they don't pay the taxes, all these things. So generally it it gives the global hungry. Okay, now not hungry, you can say the poverty, global poverty. I mean, sorry, global poverty. Now the next 7 number is cooperative security requires all the elevate poverty, manage migration, refugees movement, and control epidemics. Cooperations may be bilateral, regional. See, this is important. Bilateral, regional, and continental, or global, depending on the nature of threats, willingness, and ability of the countries to respond either nationally or internationally. Simply, what happened in the cooperative security? It requires elevate the poverty, means simply they have to improve the poverty condition. Along with that, they manage the migration. So means migration, they have to provide the better job opportunity or living condition in that country from there they are belonging. And also the refugee movement, means some illegal person who enters in the other country's border, that comes to the refugee movement through the, and along with this, the control of epidemics, means the health related epidemics or diseases. And it cooperative may be what? Bilateral, regional, continental, global. It depends upon the nature and willingness of that, and the ability of the country to respond either internationally or nationally. Now next, it is India has forced both tradition. So you see, in India what generally happens, it both tradition, national and trade for the security. And India's security strategy has 4 components. What are the components is here? We have already discussed it. The first component, it is strengthen the military capabilities. Along with this, international knowledge and institution, and to meet the security challenges inside the border, and to develop lift the citizen out of poverty, missing and economic inequalities. Generally, what happens is this being by the comes under the India's process of both the traditional both the traditional and non-traditional. Generally, what happens? It developed and lift out the citizen of the poverty. Citizen out of poverty means they try to bring the poor person out of poverty. That along with this missing and economic inequalities, if there is economic inequalities in the society, they are also improving it. Some abbreviation that we have used in the chapter, that is BWC, biological weapon conventions are there, CWC, chemical weapons conventions are there, and anti-ballistic missile ABM, and the strategic arm regulation treaty, that is START, and the nuclear non-proliferation treaty NPT, SALT, strategic arm limitation treaty, that is SALT, and SARS, severe acute respiratory syndrome, and the next is CBMS, confidence building measures, and the NIEO means new international economic order, and the IMF, international monetary fund. These are the topics that has been short form, it has been used in NCERT book. So with this, thank you. Jai Hind, Jai Bharat.